I'm Talia Ricci. Tonight, the province is dropping most mask mandates in less than 2 weeks, and reaction is mixed.
Yeah, I think it's time.
For immune-suppressed people like myself, this is far from over.
A relief for some, a source of anxiety for others. We'll look at why some education unions think the move is premature. Plus,
it's going down Friday by about 16 cents a liter.
If you can wait until Friday to fill up your gas tank, you should. We'll have more on the expected drop in prices. And
every agency in the world is working together to help Ukraine. Everyone in Canada has got to work together to help Ukraine.
A plane full of life-saving medical supplies takes off from Pearson Airport. We'll have more on the Ukraine-bound cargo as the war rages on. Mandatory masking will end in Ontario schools and stores in less than 2 weeks. Mask rules everywhere else will be gone by the end of next month. And the clock is now running down on workplace vaccination mandates. Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has more.
Go into any mall or grocery store in Ontario right now, just about everybody is wearing a mask. The days of this happening are numbered. The province's mandatory masking rules in shops and in schools end on March 21st. Why? Ontario's top public health doctor says it's because the risk from COVID-19 is now lower.
And because the risk is less, our public health recommendations have to be proportionate, they have to be balanced, and you have to recognize you can't mandate masking forever.
The messaging on masks is shifting too. Instead of saying everybody should wear them to protect others, the onus to wear a mask is now on those at greatest risk from COVID.
If they are vulnerable to this virus, if they've got any underlying illness, if they are immune suppressed in any way.
Other changes coming for Ontario? All workplace vaccination mandates end this month. Then, all remaining emergency orders, including mask rules on public transit, in hospitals and long-term care, will expire April 27th. That's exactly 1 week before the election campaign begins. Moore insists that has nothing to do with today's announcement.
My decision-making and recommendations to government have not been affected by any understanding of the political system.
While Dr. Moore speaks, Premier Doug Ford is 100 kilometers away to announce money for planning the redevelopment of Brantford's hospital. Why isn't he making the mask announcement along with Dr. Moore?
I just don't feel I should be out there trying to steal his thunder.
Still, Ford has thoughts on the end of mandatory masking.
It's going to be up to the people of Ontario. If you want to keep your mask on, keep it on. If you want to take it off. But we have to move forward from this. Like people are exhausted.
And he denies this move comes too quickly.
You know, we've been super cautious. As a matter of fact, I've been probably accused of being the most cautious leader in North America when it comes to this pandemic.
Asked how confident he is that Ontario won't get hit with another wave of COVID once the mask mandates end, Ford says no one has a crystal ball. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Brantford.
The removal of the mandate is a welcome sign for some ready to ditch masks, but not everyone is in agreement. Our Lisa Shing has reaction.
Singing the blues. For the foreseeable future, jazz singer Alex Pangman will only be performing at venues like this.
My quality of life will be impacted. My career, my ability to work will be impacted. It's been a heavy morning of considering, you know, where is the goalpost? What can I be hopeful for?
Pangman doesn't have any immunity to COVID-19 and is worried about the province lifting masking mandates in less than 2 weeks.
This is like implying that it's all over, when in fact, for immune-suppressed people like myself, this is far from over.
Masks will only be required on transit and in high-risk settings like long-term care homes and hospitals. By April 27th, you likely won't be seeing scenes like this anymore. All masking mandates will be completely lifted. Good news to some of those shopping at the Eaton Centre today.
As a 3-vaccinated person myself, I believe that we don't need to wear masks anymore.
I think it's needed. A lot of people, I think they're tired of wearing the masks.
I think people have been hindered down and burdened by the mask wearing for too long.
But since we've been wearing them for so long, the head of Ontario's science table is asking, what's another few weeks just to be safe?
Most of us, or probably all of us, were surprised. It would not be based on data. It's simply too early after the last reopening step. We need to wait a bit longer.
How confident are you that you had enough data to make a decision like this on masking?
Despite progressive, phased, and staged reopening, we've not seen a significant rebound in impact on our health systems. But I feel confident that we can do this safely.
The opposition parties don't seem to think so.
You don't give up in the last mile. You don't throw in the towel after all the work that we've done and put people at risk.
When you have so many public health experts, including sick kids, saying it's too early to remove this important layer of protection, I think the government needs to pause and listen.
Toronto's medical officer of health is also recommending the city drop its masking mandate bylaw the same time Ontario drops its mandate. Although Eileen de Villa is still recommending people wear masks indoors, especially where ventilation is poor. Now, Dr. Kieran Moore is also telling people not to harass or bully those who do choose to wear masks after March 21st. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, when it comes to schools, it's not just the mask mandate that's going away. Cohorting and COVID screening will no longer be required. Ali Chiasson now with how the changes are being received.
You just know this was the talk at school pickup today.
Masks will no longer be required of children, students and staff, or visitors in childcare, schools, school board offices, and or student transportation.
I feel okay about it. Yeah, I think it's time. I was telling my daughter, she's 5 years old, that it's coming and she has to learn how to be mindful. But she was happy. She was super happy when I told her.
How happy are parents?
Well, the mandate can come off, I guess. I'll keep wearing it. I've got a little girl under 5 who can't get vaccinated, so I feel I have a higher level of responsibility to that, so I'll keep wearing my mask.
I don't love it because I have young kids who are not eligible for vaccination, so I like the protection it offers.
If you have school kids or not, as we enter this next phase of living with the virus, the province says you should have the freedom to wear or not wear masks in any setting, including schools.
It's now a choice, and I hope parents choose to mask if their child is vulnerable to this virus. And I do think that the increase in air quality, the investment in improved ventilation, HEPA filtration, cleaning, as well as the investment of testing for all students will continue to keep our schools safe.
By March 21st, Ontario not only scraps the mask requirement, but cohorting will no longer be a thing, and neither will daily on-site screening. The teachers' union says it's premature.
Everyone wants to be out of this pandemic. Our educators want to see the smiles of their children. They want to see the smiles of their teachers and their educators. But we need to do it slowly. We need to phase it in so we can get to that place.
The teachers' unions would like to revisit the masks in school rule 2 weeks after kids return from March break.
We've done that after every break. We've taken a bit of a pause, and then we've seen what the trends are, and then we move from a plan.
But the Premier is keeping it moving.
Poor kids in those classrooms, too. Like, we got to move on.
Right us off this. See how it goes.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Another day of record gas prices in the GTA. This morning, drivers paid about $1.84 a litre at the pumps, and prices are set to jump another 6 cents tonight. But there may soon be some relief. Greg Ross explains.
It might be a good idea to hold off on filling the gas tank until Friday.
It's going down Friday by about 16 cents a litre.
Dan McTeague with Canadians for Affordable Energy says while a big break at the pumps is coming, things will get worse before they get better. Gas prices in Toronto will jump about 6 cents per litre tomorrow.
To what will be the record price ever paid in the GTA of $1.90.9, just under $1.91.
He says on Friday, the price of gas will be back down to just under $1.76 per litre after a tough day on the markets today. But there's also no telling how long it's going to last. McTeague says the markets are simply volatile right now.
This market is not being guided by anything other than simple craziness. I mean, you can see oil going up to $125 a barrel, dropping to $107 a barrel. There's really no rhyme or reason for any of this. It should be consistent. It's not. And so it has a lot to do with driving prices up.
Some are looking to other options to keep the price of gas down.
Doug Ford promised the people of Ontario almost 4 years ago that he would deliver a gas tax cut of 5.7 cents a litre.
A promise the Taxpayers Federation is calling on the Premier to keep.
These are real savings that will leave more money in your pocket.
That was 4 years ago. Today, a spokesperson for the Ford government pointed to other cuts that have already been made by the province, including the elimination of tolls on highways 412 and 418, as well as license plate renewal fees. They also suggested that the federal government delay a planned carbon tax increase scheduled for April 1st.
It's time for Ford to lower taxes and stop using the federal government as an excuse to get out of an election promise.
McTeague says he expects gas prices could be back up over $1.80 as soon as Saturday. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now for a look at the forecast. And what a beautiful day we had today, Colette. Can't complain about that.
Just such a pleasant day today with temperatures basically seasonal that we're seeing in terms of our daytime highs. Maybe even a little bit above to see that 5 on the board for Toronto came later in the afternoon hours. St. Catharines getting there too. And oh boy, Windsor up to 7 degrees. A little cooler in the nation's capital with that daytime high just at 2. We had the cloud in the morning and then we got into more sunshine and now we're getting into some of that cloud through the overnight hours at times. We will have some variable skies for Thursday. So we'll get some sunshine or some breaks at least coming through, even some of the higher cloud. But there is going to be more cloud cover there throughout the day than what we had this afternoon. Temperature will be kept down just a tiny bit because of that. And a few areas could possibly see a couple of flurries flying too, but the winds aren't very strong, but just enough to pull that in off the lake. Then the next system that's going to really have an impact, that one's going to be coming in later in the day on Friday. I've got much more on that coming up. Overnight tonight, -4. That high for tomorrow, 4 degrees.
Thanks, Colette. Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown says he still hasn't made a decision on whether he will join the federal Conservative Party leadership race, but acknowledges he needs to make a decision soon.
Certainly believe that I need to make a decision in the coming days, given the fact that the race has already started. But you'll have to stay tuned, and I'll have an update for you on that soon.
Former finance critic Pierre Poilievre and Leslyn Lewis have already put their hats in the ring, as well as independent Ontario MPP Roman Baber, who was removed from caucus for anti-COVID restriction sentiments. Former Quebec Premier Jean Charest will officially launch his campaign in Alberta tomorrow. The timing of the leadership race comes as a chapter closes in Brown's legal fight with CTV and Bell Media, which ran a story accusing him of sexual impropriety.
Today's actually the anniversary of my engagement with my wife, and I'm very grateful that they were incredible, standing by my side through a very difficult period, and I'm very happy that this is behind me.
CTV News has expressed regrets over a 2018 story with factually incorrect information that caused harm to his career. Brown was leader of the provincial Conservatives at the time. In a settlement, CTV acknowledged the story required corrections. Brown denied any allegation of sexual misconduct. To Ukraine now, where moving civilians out of harm's way continues to be a key challenge. Officials say localized ceasefires have opened up evacuation corridors out of several besieged cities.
It was so terrible, and my parents, I left my parents in Sumy. I hope I will see them another time.
Russian forces continue to attack civilian targets. A children's hospital in Mariupol was hit on Wednesday. It suffered extensive damage and the number of casualties isn't known. Mariupol was one of the first cities to be cut off by the Russian invasion. It has been without power, water, and heat for nearly 2 weeks. And just a few hours ago, a cargo plane took flight from Pearson International Airport to Warsaw, Poland. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner is carrying more than 60 pallets of medical supplies for people in Ukraine. Dale Manukduk has the details.
It's all hands on deck with multiple agencies from around the world working together. Airlink, which specializes in international logistics for humanitarian crises, coordinated the flight and says it came together in the last few days.
This is really game time. We're all working around the clock, and it might look pretty simple, loading a few pallets of cargo, just about a few pallets, but it's really quite complicated, because it's one thing to send aid, but we've got to be sending the right aid.
Toronto-based Global Medic's 20 skids on the aircraft are divided into essential medicines and trauma supplies.
They're
got high blood pressure or diabetes, they don't have their meds. If we don't get them their meds, they'll end up in hospital. They can't get their meds on the shelves of these pharmacies, right, because they're empty.
Project Cure trucked their contribution from Chicago to Toronto earlier this week. The organization has been working in Ukraine for over 2 decades. Tonight, they're sending hospital beds and mattresses, surgical and trauma kits.
Working with our NGO partners who are based in Ukraine, they told us exactly what they needed right away. Hospital beds are needed immediately, and these hospital beds in particular are very special because they're manual hospital beds, which can double as refugee cots as well.
Meanwhile, it's been a whirlwind for the small Toronto-based Ukraine Medical Support. They've had so many donations, they've had to find warehouse space. They try to inform what to bring and what not to bring. For example, they don't need diapers for now.
Not because we don't need them, because we already have 4 big 40-foot containers with this. So, and we add into every container, we add in a small portions of it.
They're sending 28 skids of medical supplies and will ship more on Friday by sea. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Miss World is set to take place exactly 1 week from today in Puerto Rico. Among those taking the stage will be York University student Khadija Omar. The 20-year-old will be representing her parents' native country of Somalia and will be the first hijab-wearing contestant in the pageant's history. Kelda Yoon spoke with Omar about what it means to her.
And next thing I know, I'm Miss Somalia. And I was like, wait, this is crazy because now I get to go to Miss World as the first hijabi.
It's been quite the whirlwind for Khadija Omar. She's speaking to me from Nairobi, where she's been for the past few months preparing for Miss World. That's also where her story began 20 years ago. Born in a Kenyan refugee camp to Somali parents, Omar lived there until she was 10 before moving with her family to Kitchener, Ontario.
As much as I love Canada, like when I was young, I didn't speak English, and I feel like that made it hard for me to fit in with the kids in class. And it's just I felt really different because I'd always be the only hijabi girl. Most of the time, I'd always be the only Black girl in my class.
She tried out for Miss World Canada 4 times with hopes of becoming the first hijabi winner, but didn't make it through. Then she got an unexpected call. The director of Miss Somalia had seen her Instagram and wondered if she'd like to be the country's first ever entry in Miss World.
And I feel like I'm literally living my dream because not only do I get to represent hijabi girls, but I get to represent being the first Miss Somalia.
As part of Miss World's Beauty with a Purpose campaign, Omar has been working with the UNHCR in Nairobi to help shed light on the climate refugee crisis.
Because of due to the climate crisis that's happening in Somalia, a lot of Somalis have been displaced. So most of them do actually end up in refugee camps.
Another goal of hers, eliminating period poverty in refugee camps like the one where she grew up.
There's a lot of girls who, because of their periods, it's affected their self-confidence, their self-esteem. It's because they're too scared to go to school because what if their periods, what if they have leaking? And it's some girls can't afford pads, and such an issue that education is so important to them, but they have to miss school because of not being able to afford pads. That was something so heartbreaking to me. So I want to go back and be able to provide girls with sanitary pads. Especially I wanted to have reusable pads.
All this as she gets set to take the stage next Wednesday.
And now I can go out there and inspire other girls because I know how it feels not to be confident in your own skin. I know how it feels not to be confident in your hijab, and I would never want a young girl, a young Khadija, another girl who looks like me to ever feel that. So that is why this is so important to me.
Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
There's a live look at our city skyline. Partly cloudy tonight with a chance of flurries. Currently, it's 3 degrees downtown. And Colette Kennedy's back now with our extended forecast. I had a feeling that mild weather wasn't going to stick around.
We've really been treated, to a couple of nice and quieter days here. We have another one ahead of us, but you sort of know the pattern that we've been in, so it can't last forever, right? And it is going to be changing, but we've got that fair weather day for Thursday, a little more cloud than we had this afternoon. Snow moving in, though, as we get into Friday later in the day, and that carries on into parts of Saturday morning. So something to keep in mind for the roads. It is, for many, March break coming up, so if you've got some plans to be traveling on the roads, just knowing that you may need a little extra time or maybe adjust things. And then the temperatures are going to drop back down on the weekend, but it's really going to stay there for the weekend, and next week they'll start going up again. So some of that extra cloud cover that comes through a few areas that could have a few flurries flurries into tomorrow, but the winds aren't super strong, just enough to pick a few up with the lakes. And then as we go into Friday, overcast, we will see into the afternoon hours this system pushing through, thinking more like 3, 4, it pushes into the GTA, and light at first and then intensifying. And in terms of the amounts, it's looking like at least 5 or 6 centimeters, possibly pushing up towards 10 in some areas. So I'll keep an eye on the accumulations for you and get you up to date as we get closer. Overnight tonight, a look at southwestern Ontario's highs, 3 to 6 degrees for tomorrow. Just a little cooler than today, right? And around the Golden Horseshoe, it looks like this. Not a bad way to start off tomorrow because we tend to hit these around 7 a.m. So not too cool, just a little below freezing. And then tomorrow, in most cases, just slightly cooler than what it was today. Now, besides that system on Friday that I want to bring your attention to that lingers with some flurries into Saturday, I also do want you to know that we do need to spring forward. So Saturday night before bed, you want to be putting your clocks ahead an hour. We lose an hour in this case. And also just keeping in mind with that snowstorm or snow system that we will be seeing some blowing snow, reducing visibility.
Thanks. Finally tonight, a very happy update for you on a story that first started getting attention a few weeks ago about a pooch from Alberta with a one-of-a-kind face and a big social media following.
Who's that? Brody.
Brody, a rescue dog with a curved snout, now has a matching canine companion, and the two make quite a sight. Brody's owner stumbled upon a photo of Raven, also a German Shepherd mix with a similar crooked smile, at a Texas rescue, and felt instantly the pair were meant to be lifelong playmates, then helped organize an epic plane journey and road trip to get the pup to Canada. Now, 2 weeks in, the Red Deer pair seem to be getting along just fine. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, you can stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbc.ca/Toronto. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. Good night.